Good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to Fernvalley Farm Beekeeping channel. Alright, what we're doing here this morning is we're mixing sugar syrup. It's that time of year again. It's time to start feeding the bees. Fall is here. Winter, unfortunately, is coming. So we got to start feeding, get the hives built up for winter. The goldenrod is still blooming, but it's coming to an end. So I want to start open feeding this afternoon here this morning, and some hive top feeding. But what I'm going to do right now, because you want to get your hives built up for winter, it'd be nice if you can get each hive box up to 80, 90 pounds. This way they've got plenty of nectar, especially up here in the north, to make it through the winter. Depending on where you live in the country, it varies. But up here, I like to be able to I like to take my boxes and lift them and go, oh my God, is that heavy? That's how I like to have, that's how I like to feel how heavy my boxes are. So if you tip one up and it's like really heavy, then you know the bees have stored a lot and they're good and they're set for winter. If you go to pick your box up and it's like really light and you need to feed them like right now, because they will starve. They need to be fed. You want to get your hives built up going into winter. So by feeding them, they will store all that and get themselves set up. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to mention about that. If I think about it, I'll mention it as we go along here. But what I'm doing is I'm using my 55-gallon drum sugar mixer. I built this last year. Pretty much what this is a 1 horsepower motor. I've got some pipes that I made here. The pump runs the water up over the top and swirls it around the bottom. What I'm mixing is a 2-to-1 syrup. In the spring, you can go 1-to-1. The 1-to-1 sugar syrup simulates. The 1-to-1 helps them draw a comb and helps feed them in the spring before the nectar flow starts. The 2-to-1 simulates like the nectar being brought in, helps them. They store all that 2-to-1. It's a thicker syrup. It's just like them bringing in nectar. They store that and they build that up for the winter, and that's what they'll eat over the winter while they're locked inside. Like I said, up here in the north, winter can last, they can start getting locked in any time in November, December. It starts really getting cold, they cluster, they'll break cluster, they'll eat, get a nice day, they'll fly, do their cleansing flights. But you want to make sure that they're fed and they've got plenty of food stored, plenty of nectar stored in their hives to go in the winter. I also put dry sugar on, but that's another video, but I put dry sugar on just in case they run out of nectar. But let me show you how this works here really quick. Okay, you see this pump right here? This is a 1 horsepower motor. I've got lines marked on the inside here. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see the little black lines. You can see a couple of them. Each one of those lines is a 5-gallon bucket of water. So I'm going to fill this up to the second line actually, which would be 10 gallons of water. But when you're mixing sugar syrup 2-to-1, it's basically, in this situation, let's say 2 buckets of sugar to 1 bucket of water. It's really thick. So I'm going to fill this up to these 2 lines. Okay, so I've got it filled up to the second line, which is 10 gallons. Basically 2 5-gallon pails of water. It's really cold, obviously, because it just come out of the well. I'm going to warm that up. I've got a tank heater I'm going to show you here. I'm going to warm that up. And how this works is you turn the pump on, the water comes up. So how this works, you turn the pump on, comes up, over, comes straight back down and just circulates around. And I've got this set up here to where I could, once this is already mixed, I could pump it out into a bucket here, and I'll show you when I get to that part. But I've got this set up here. Okay, so I've got this set up to where this pump is already on a switch. You just turn this on and it'll circulate. Let me show you. See what it does? You can see this. Okay, but first we need to heat the water. Alright, so what I got here is just a regular old tank heater. I'm going to put this tank heater and I'm going to warm that water up. It's only going to get it so warm. The sugar will dissolve faster when the water's warm. It will dissolve in cold, water. It just takes a little bit longer. So I'm just going to warm this up. I'm going to put this in there, and we're going to heat this water up. So pretty much all I'm going to do is just plug this in. This thing, these tank heaters get hot. These are made for like water tanks for horses, for cattle. This gets hot like really quick. I'm just going to set this in here. I don't know why they don't build that with a longer cord. I don't know why they don't build that thing with a longer cord. I'm actually going to buy, I thought I had one for one of my horse tanks outside. I'm going to buy a new one, and I'm going to drill a hole in this tank. They're designed to fit right inside the water tank, so horses or cattle can't pull them out. They mount right inside. I'm going to buy one at some point and drill a hole in this and mount it. So we're going to leave this one in temporarily. So we're going to use this one for right now. I thought I had one outside, but I went to use it. It doesn't work. So I'll leave this in. We'll see how long it takes to warm this up. So what I'll do, I'll leave this in. I'll get this water warm. Actually, I'll show you what I'm going to do here. I just got 25-pound bags of sugar here. I got 4 of these, and I have this written down. I forget what it comes out that we're 2 to 1, but basically since there's basically two buckets of water in there, I'm going to put 4 buckets of sugar. So 1 bucket of water, 2 buckets of sugar. And that's how I'm going to mix this. And we'll let this thing go until it's mixed up. I've got it set up to where when that pump is going, I can shut one of those valves off and it'll pump it right out of the tank into a bucket. And we'll show you when we get to that part. I'm going to let that water heat up, and after it's heated up, I'll come back and we'll mix this syrup. So we'll be right back. Okay, well, I came to check on my water, and I'm like, why is my water not warm? The heater crapped out. I mean, this thing is really old. I don't know how long I've had this. I need to get a new one. But the water's kind of warm, so we're going to mix it anyway. We'll see how long it takes. You can do this in cold water. It just takes a little bit longer sometimes. So basically, all I'm doing is I'm filling up the bucket with sugar. I'm going to put 2 of these for every 1 bucket of water. So let me fill this. And we're going to try this new 1 horsepower. The last video I had on this, if you go back and look, I had a smaller pump. So I'm doing this with a bigger pump, so hopefully it doesn't get too hot. We'll see. All I do is fill this up. So we're going to start this out. And I got this other bag right here that I need to use. That was a 50-pound bag of sugar that I got from the local grocery store last year. I need to use that one up too. So I'm going to turn this on. Let this mix for a while and just keep, you can see, I can't tell how many lines it's up to, but it brought the level up to here, so I made a bunch of syrup, so I should have probably, I'm guessing, maybe 6 5-gallon pails. We'll find out when we're done here. So So let me let this mix for a while, and I'll be back when this is all mixed up. And I'll let you know how this 1 horsepower motor, like I said, the 3/4, let me back this up here. So I'm curious to see how this 1 horsepower motor holds up. The 3/4 horsepower motor got hot. We'll see what this one does. I accidentally spilled some sugar on the ground, but that's okay. So we'll let this go for a little while. I might even shut it off, let it cool, let it run for a little while. But then when we're done, we'll just pump it out with this hose into these buckets and we'll take it outside. So let me let this go for a while. It's only been about 5 minutes. I'll time this. We'll see how long this runs until it's dissolved. So when this is done, I will be back. All right, we're back. It's been, well, it's been an hour and a half, but on and off here. I let it run for 5. I think what I'm going to do for next year, this 1 horsepower motor is working really well, but it gets hot. So I let it go. The first time I ran it, I don't know, 7, 8 minutes, it got hot. I shut the power off, let it sit for a few minutes, it came right back on and it was fine, which I kind of expected because that's pretty thick. These pumps really aren't designed for that, but it works. So now what I've been doing, I'll run it for 5 minutes and then just shut it off. And you can see in here what it looks like, and I'll show you in a second. But I did test it, and this was with cold water because that heater quit. I don't know if you could see it in the bucket without me spilling any. See how clear that is? That's with the cold water. And what I did is I put some in here, I let it sit, and then just to check to make sure that no sugar was sitting on the bottom of this bucket, I took it, I redumped it. I just dumped it into another bucket, and there's no sugar sitting on the bottom. So the cold water does work. I just like to have it warmer. Just the pump doesn't got to work as hard. It dissolves faster. But what I'm going to do for next year, I don't need it now. This is working fine for this year. I'm going to buy, and I've seen other guys do it, I'm going to buy a trolling motor. Just an inexpensive one, and I can mount it right to the side of this drum, put it in there, and then that trolling motor could just spin and just keep circulating it. And then I can keep my pump going too if I have to spin it around. But I'm definitely going to leave my pump in there because I'm going to use that obviously to pump it out of this drum into these buckets. So let me show you what this looks like. Now you can tell it's dissolved by looking at the color of it. And here it's like a darker, like a light brownish color. It is dissolved, but with the white drum and the light, it's not showing up as clear. But when you dump it into the buckets, you can just see it was clear. So it does work really well. And all I do now is I shut this valve off, open this valve, pump into the buckets. So let me back this up. We're going to pump this into these buckets, and I'm going to show you one other little trick that I discovered. So for what's left in the drum, that the pump obviously won't pump out, I got a shop bag. This is brand new. It's only used for the syrup only. It's stainless steel. I never knew there was such thing. I actually got this last year. I never knew there was such thing as a stainless steel shop vac. I was playing around on eBay looking for something. I was going to get a shop vac, and I was looking around and I seen this. I'm like, oh, so this is only used for the sugar syrup. No, dust or garbage or anything. So when it gets down to the bottom and the pump won't suck it up anymore, I use this and pump it right out. So, and then I just dump this into the buckets. All right, so now what I'll do is I'm going to pump this up. We're going to see what we get. So we'll show you how this works. And here again, I've got brand new buckets. I only use these for sugar syrup. And this stuff's really inexpensive to buy. That's why I just keep all this stuff separate. I don't use these buckets for nothing else but the sugar syrup. I got lids for them, So let's go. We're going to pump this out. Put the one valve off. You can see it's coming out. I'm going to shut the one valve though, so it comes out faster. can see how it's pumping it out. And all I'll do is switch from one to the other when it's full. I could shut it off too if I want to, but I don't want that pump to come off. Figures. That actually might fill it. So basically this is going to fill 4 5-gallon buckets. I just shut it off. I don't want to burn the pump up, obviously. I'll do the rest with the shop vac. Alright, so I shut the pump off because it's got down to the bottom. Obviously I don't want to burn the pump up, so now we'll use the shop vac and suck the rest of it out. I'll show you really quick and we'll end this video. If you guys ever want to try build one of these, if you got any questions, just ask. It's really easy. And it's not a very expensive job. Every time you mess with this syrup, everything just gets sticky. All I'm going to do is just put this in there and suck it out. It's on reverse. Wrong side. There's a blooper right there. You got to make sure you have the hose plugged in on the correct side, not the blower. Hold on. Flip it around. Here we go. Now we're good. There you have it. Can you see that? Yep, there it is. So I'll just take what's left of that and I will dump it in the 5-gallon pail. So you can see behind me I got 4, they're pretty much all full. There may be somewhere about that far from the top, but that's fine. It's heavy to carry it all the way out to where the open feeders are going to be. But that's about it. And one other thing that I did mention on this, if you buy a brand new drum, unless you want to spend big time money on a stainless steel drum, which is like OMG expensive. These were brand new 55-gallon drums, nothing in them. But if you throw water in them, they're going to rust right away because it's just steel. They will rust really quick. And obviously you don't want to feed your bees rusty sugar water. So what I did is I coated the inside with I don't have any more of that Flex Seal. You've seen it advertised on TV, that Flex Seal. I coated it in white Flex Seal. It's a coating made for gutters and roofs, and anything outdoors is waterproof. So I sprayed the whole inside of that drum with the Flex Seal, and then I actually went over it with a can of white paint that I forget what's in it, but it's waterproof. It's like a waterproof white spray. I sprayed that. I never let water just sit in here. I put it in, I mix it, I take it out. Because eventually if you let it just sit in there, it could just start to get kind of icky, and I don't want that, and I don't want to feed that to the girls. So when I do this, I fill it, I mix it, I take it out. Now what I will do when I'm done here, I gotta go to work here, I gotta leave pretty soon. I gotta go feed the horses and get out of here. I'm gonna put water in here and run it through that pump, just to get all that syrup out of that pump. I'll run it through there, let it filter, suck it back out with the shop vac, and do that a couple times just to get that just to get that pump cleaned out. I don't want to leave sugar syrup sitting in that pump. I don't want it to get all gummed up and sticky. So I'll put some water in there, and so that made what, 5? Well, it made 4 gallons, so or 4 buckets, 4.5 buckets. So yeah, I'll run water through there, suck it all out, and be done. You got any questions on how to build one of these things, let me know. It's not really expensive. If you buy a new drum, I mean, there's drums all over the place. You can find them everywhere, but you want a new one. You don't want to use a used one because you don't know what was in it. And the reason I have two of them here, I actually have it set up. I have two of these. My original plan was for one drum only. I wasn't planning on putting a second one in. I have it set up to pump. If this gets full, I could pump it into this drum and let it sit for a little while. If I need a whole lot, then I could pump it out. The only reason I have a second drum here is because when they sent me this one, I bought a brand new drum and showed up with a dent in it. I'm like, I don't think so. I called the company and be like, you know what? I didn't buy a brand new drum. Like I said, they're everywhere. But I bought a new one. It came with a dent. No questions asked. They sent me a brand new one that wasn't dented. So I'm like, thank you. So that's why I have a second drum here. My plan was not to build another one of these. But since I had it, it was brand new. I drilled a hole. Same thing. It just pumps into this drum. There's another pump in here. And you could pump it out same way, you know, like this. That is if I got to make a lot of syrup. So I can mix it, put in the next drum, and just keep going. And then pump it out. So that's why I have two. But like I said, any questions on this, let me know. It's a little, and you can kind of design your own, but I am gonna do, and we'll do that next spring. I am gonna put a trolling motor on here to really spin that, so the pump doesn't gotta work as hard. But it worked out great. You can see the syrup is ready to go. I've got four pails behind me that are pretty much maybe that far, whatever, and that's fine. And I've got the shop vac that's half full. So basically 5, 10, 20 gallons of water. And God, how many pounds was that? I had probably 100 pounds of sugar, but don't use that as a formula. You got to mix it yourself. I have one more bag left, but filling these buckets 4 times with sugar with only 2 buckets of water, that's how much it gave me. So it almost like doubled in the way. So basically I said 2 to 1. Cup of water, 2 cups of sugar. A bucket of water, 2 buckets of sugar, 1 bucket of water. So you just kind of make it that way. So anyways, hopefully you like this video. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them on how to build this. I'll let you know. I'll give you some tips, pointers, whatever. But it really is handy to make a whole lot of syrup. So anyways, we're going to get out there, get the open feeders set up, and we'll get the bees fed. So I will see you guys in the next video when we go feed my bees. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. All right, bye.